Well, obviously, it was good to get the win. It was a difficult game just from an execution standpoint. There were a number of things that that we have to improve on. Starting with me, at halftime, I had said to him, every key indicator, key to victory we outlined at the start of the week, man, we're doing the opposite relative to what we thought was going to be important. So we flipped the script a little bit in the second half. I thought the punt returns, obviously the takeaways were big. We found a way to win, but that'll be. We don't have a lot of time, but we can't go home tomorrow night when the day's finished and not have looked at that film and made the corrections. And that starts with all of us too as coaches. But we struggled to find any rhythm offensively. Certainly we turned it over, but we made enough plays in the second half. I thought the punt return game helped us. That was significant, and yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah, Sean, what was your reaction when Jonathan Taylor dropped the ball there at the goal line? Do you think that was a turning point, the punt return?
Well, look, that was significant. That was significant. I don't get it, but I'm not going to try to. Yeah, I don't know what that was going to be. Yeah, it was a significant play that you go from breaking a long run for a touchdown for your team to us having the ball. So, yeah, there was a number of plays, but that was one of them.
Coach, on your left, after the 10-0 start, defense only allowed 3 points. The rest of the game forced 4 second-half turnovers. What do you think of how they settled in and played?
Well, those were some of the challenges. Like, at halftime, it was like, look, D, we talked about the quarterback run, the zone, all of that. And special teams, we talked about winning the net punt battle. We weren't doing that. Offensively, ball security at a premium, and we weren't doing that, and that was frustrating. So we, as coaches, myself, starting with myself, have to do a better job, and we will. It won't be fun looking at the tape. It's fun knowing the ending of it, and so, but then we have a quick turnaround, obviously, with a Thursday night game. But I never felt. I just didn't want to get into a game where we were like rope-a-doping with that team. I wanted, to start certainly faster than we did. We didn't, but then the punt returns and the takeaways in the second half obviously were the difference.
Coach, what was going on with Bo, do you think, in the first half? We're not used to seeing him turn the ball over like
that.
Yeah,
listen,
what did you think of the finish?
No, I get mad at myself. A couple of the calls I gave him, and he had one read that he knows better, but look, it was just one of those nights where we weren't as efficient, especially against a zone defense like that. You're not going to hit as many big plays, but I think early on he was like 6 for 8, but then there were just a few forced throws and then a few calls that were done by me that I've got to be better.
You mentioned the takeaways, obviously, I think 5 in total. And a bunch in the Monday night game, too. Just your defense has sort of started to get on that roll where they're taking the ball away.
Yeah, the thing we talked about in this game was the number one thing. Because Seattle does a good job forcing fumbles, but it was about the ball, and we've had a stretch now where we played quarterbacks that have turned it over, and these guys, were one of those teams where we felt like if we do a good job with the football, they'll give us the opportunities. Now, I didn't know it was going to be 5-3. I would have rather it been 2-0, but that's how it ended up. Yeah, we've got to be better offensively, especially when we're playing a team that's going to turn the ball over like they do.
Sean, speaking of takeaways, what can you say about Nick Benito's fumble return for touchdown and the anticipation he showed?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the play. I don't know if it was a double or triple pass, but anyway, that was a heck of a play. It was kind of happening right in front of me because as soon as I felt the depth of that receiver, I just looked downfield. We were in decent coverage position, but then it was going back to the quarterback. I don't know the play. I'll have to look at it on film. But he's athletic. It's 2 weeks 2 games in a row. Yeah, listen, it's a real good play. And the timing of it, there was like this 10-minute period in that game where all of a sudden it went from being close to not out of reach, but certainly in our favor.
Coach, after Pastor Tan sustained the ankle injury the first time, were there talks on the sideline about whether to put him back in the game given the score?
Anything we do relative to a player's injury is always like, if the medical staff feels like he can go back in and he's healthy enough, there's never any, well, we don't need him now. It's just strictly, is he healthy enough to play? And if he's not, he won't. And if he is, he will play. And that's, I think, the only way you can approach things like that.
Coach, slightly to your left. You mentioned that 10-minute window in the game where it kind of broke open. What was the key and the turning point, the one turning point you'd point to in this game?
Well, certainly Benito's play. That runner dropping the ball on the goal line still, like, that was something. I mean, you go from scoring 7 to the other team, like a turnover. And then, look, it got away from then there. I thought the punt returns were real significant. I felt like in the fourth quarter we played most of that game on their end of the field. And I think that is always good.
Coach, I know you said you have bigger ideas, or the team isn't thinking just about having a winning record. But that being said, this is the first time since 2016 the Broncos organization has had a winning record. I wonder if you could reflect on that and what that says about this group and what your expectations were.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it until you asked. Look, the appeal, the appeal to me was the tradition here. The years of sustained success here, and the importance of this game here. Like, there aren't many cities that you can say, man, you can only find a few, and then when you find the right ownership group, and there were certain things that were really important in the football tradition and history here was very appealing to me because, look, I've known Payton and John forever, right? But it was somewhere where the fan base, like, the expectations were high, and you want to be in New York, LA, or Vegas if you're in entertainment. You don't want to be in Rhode Island. And if you're in this industry, you want to be somewhere where it's really important and the expectations are high. And so it's nice to get the 9th win. We'll have some cupcakes for you guys as you leave, and then we'll go from there.
Hey, Sean, how much will it help you guys, if at all, that you've already done the Thursday night thing this year, and it was earlier in the year, and it's against a team that you've seen, even though they've obviously changed a little?
Look, I think this Thursday schedule is one thing that, I don't want to say it's easy, but we kind of know the schedule, just like, those guys will. The more challenging schedule I find, it's never Thanksgiving, it's not Thursdays. The challenging schedule is like the Christmas schedule. And this is the entertainment business where it's not necessarily holiday friendly, right? So I just finished going through not only the schedule for next week, but the schedule leading all the way up until the next game, just so they understood how we're going to handle the next 2 weeks. I wasn't jumping ahead, but they're going to get asked. And so you have to be flexible. You have to be able to adjust. And if you're wanting to play for significant games, December, January, then just tell us where, when, or else you can play at the 2:30 or 2:25 time slot your whole career. I choose not to play at the 2:25 time slot or the 12 noon time slot central, or depending on where you're at. Let's play on some of those other games. And but I think a lot was made of it when it was flexed. But it made a lot of sense in that they were flexing a team out that has that Christmas week schedule, and flexing us in, which gave us additional time. So Yeah, I think, and we travel well to LA. I think it's a perfect trip for a Denver fan, right?
Hey, Sean, I don't mean to keep pounding on Jonathan Taylor's blunder, but is that a teaching point with your guys? Do you teach them to hand the ball to the ref or take it to the sideline so that something like that doesn't happen with your guys?
It's a fair question. I can't recall covering that. It wouldn't be a teaching point. Yeah, I think that'll be difficult for the coaches and everyone of his teammates. It'll just be difficult, and I don't get it. And so, yeah, I'll leave it at